Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz chess postmortem, a postmortem of my Blitz game number 349. My opponent played e4 here and I played e5, and we get what looks like a normal e4, e5 opening with knight f3, knight c6. And then my opponent plays the rare move c3. See, that's fifth in the list of possible moves here. This is the Ponziani opening. It's one of the oldest openings in the modern game of chess. It was written about as far back as 1497. Ponziani himself was an 18th century player who analyzed this opening, and particularly the Ponziani counter gambit, the immediate f5. So this opening has a long history, but it's never been considered particularly great. But occasionally chess players stand up to say, oh, this is an okay opening. For example, Howard Staunton, who is one of the top players in the world, recommended this opening as an interesting way to play. So the weakness of the Ponziani, putting the pawn on c3, it's similar to the c3 Sicilian. It's left the e-pawn unprotected, and it's blocked the squares of the knight, which is the most natural way to protect the pawn. So all the best moves here are moves that immediately counterattack the e-pawn. So f5, the Ponziani counter gambit, d5, the move I played, or knight f6, attacking with the knight, are all the main choices. But I think d5 is an interesting way to play. You see, the engine likes either d5 or knight f6. Depending on how long you let it think, it'll choose one or the other. But d5 is a decent way to play. And now the main move here is a very funny move, queen a4. He didn't play this, but this is interesting. It pins the knight, so this pawn is hanging, the e-pawn is hanging. And if you try and defend with a bishop, for example, he's threatening to take the d-pawn and win that pinned knight. So you need to do something about, it's sort of like multiple threats. There's a threat of taking here, attacking the pinned knight, which is defended by the queen, but that means you can't play any bishop moves that block the line of sight of the queen. So the very funny move f6 is the best move in this position, just defending the pawn with a pawn. His queen is on the other side of the board, so you're not going to get any checks on this diagonal, not that diagonal. It's this light squared diagonal you have to worry about when you play a move like f6. But in this case, there's no piece over there to attack you, so you're safe playing f6, and the game goes on from here. If you were to take the pawn, second choice here is a way to try and deal with it. Then he can take this pawn, and this is pretty good for white. He's got this attack on your pinned knight, and if you block with the bishop, he can snap it off, and he's also threatening to win this pawn here. So. So anyway, the move f6 is the way to respond to queen a4 if you ever see the Ponziani. Okay, but I played d5 and my opponent just took the pawn, a simple way to play. And queen takes, and the position is about even. And we're pretty much out of the book. He goes queen e2. He could have played bishop e2 there, probably is a little better. But let's continue with the game. Queen e2, and I go knight f6, just developing my pieces. The queen can sit here for quite a while because the knight can't come to these squares and chase the queen away. The other problem with placing the pawns like that, as well as the hole on d3, may be a problem at some point. So he plays d3, controlling some space around his king there, and I just keep developing. Bishop c5, h3. Okay, keeping my bishop out of g4, and I castle. He goes a4, maybe threatening to trap a bishop over here, and right now e4 is already a threat, it looks like. Let's go ahead and look at this. e4 is an attack against his knight. Yeah, and it opens up the line. I come across this idea somewhat later in the game, but this is a very good move because it sort of forces the opening of the e-file. And after that, I could place a rook on the e-file and skewer his king and queen. So if he takes, knight takes, and c4. Since I took with the knight, the rook to rook to e8 idea is not on immediately because the knight's not defending it. Let's see, is rook e8 a good move here? Oh, it's white's turn to move. c4. Bishop e3. Bishop e3 just blocking this, you would think would be good enough. Bishop takes. Queen takes. Yeah, I'm just curious why it's such a high evaluation. The material is even. The pawns are even. It's just that I think it's all has to do with eventually this open line against the queen and the king is going to cause problems. But okay, rook e8 now, immediately jumping on that. In this position, I didn't play e4 first. I played rook e8 first, which was also a good move, but it looks like e4 was a little more precise. He plays b4, going after my bishop, and I just dropped the bishop back to f8, and then he plays b5, kicking my knight. And now the engine doesn't like my e4 move. It thinks I should just move or play knight d4. Knight d4 is a funny move. Let's check this out. Knight d4. Why can't he just take this? Oh, because if he takes to the pawn, I take back and hit his queen again. So he can't take it. So the queen has to move out of the way. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't play knight d4. I played the move e4. So counterattacking his knight, he tried the move knight g5. It looks like d takes e4 is the best try. So his best defense here, d takes e4. This is kind of the way I was expecting it to go. Rook takes e4, and then bishop to e3. He can block it. But now I have time to move my knight away. Knight to a5. Yeah, the knight can go here, and then maybe the knight can go to a5, and then maybe to c4. And looks like the material stays even, but I've got good development here. His king is still in the center and active pieces, so I'm happy with this position. So he plays a move which is not quite as good. He goes knight to g5, well, maybe with ideas of attacking here on h7 at some point. And now I play e takes d3, which is just an attack on his queen. He plays queen takes e8, and I play knight takes e8, and then b takes c6. Yeah, he grabs the knight. So I must have missed something here because we get into a position which is more even. He's got a rook and a piece for the queen, so it shouldn't be like a -7. But maybe it's because I don't play accurately. It looks like bishop to c5 is a good move. Holding on to this advanced pawn is the best way to play. I played queen takes c6. And okay, so this bishop e3, this gives up some of my advantage, it looks like. I should still play bishop c5. Yeah, for some reason I didn't think to hold on to this pawn, but really, when you look at the position, it's clear this is an important pawn. It keeps his bishop hemmed in for one thing, so it keeps him from castling. And if I can keep his king in the center, my attack is going to be a lot more forceful. So I let him off the hook. I kick the knight drops back, I develop my knight, and he takes the pawn. And now, well, I still have a tremendous advantage. It's funny. Somehow, it's even though I have an advantage, right? I have the queen against a rook and a piece, which is, in principle, that favors the queen. And I even have an extra pawn. But it's a little difficult to play. All his pieces come out, then get active, and they start harassing my queen. So we'll see. I get my pieces out. I would like to just trade off some of these minor pieces. The queen in an open board with fewer pieces would really show its strength. He castles. I go rook to d8. He plays rook to d1. And now, what's it saying? Bishop takes h3. Missed this trick. Bishop takes h3 is nice because my queen is on his knight, so when he takes back, I would pick up his knight. Okay. Bishop to d6 was played here. Just getting all my pieces out. Bishop to b5. Hitting my queen. Queen to e4 is the only move. I thought he could have a draw here. What if he just comes back here? Where would I go? He didn't play that. In this position, I can play bishop to h2 check. Queen to d5. Let's try queen to d5. Oh, this square is available. Yeah, with his bishop there, this square is available. And if he gives up his bishop to win my queen, I come out a piece ahead. I've got a rook and 3 pieces. No, actually, the material is even. So I just come out a couple pawns, one pawn ahead. So I could give it back that way. So he didn't really have it. I was thinking maybe he had a draw at this position with the repeated bishop attacks, but even here I still keep the edge. Okay, but he played rook c1. And now once again I should play bishop takes h3. I just missed that idea. I retreated the bishop trying to exchange off his bishop. He attacks my queen. Drop back here. I still would like to exchange off that pieces if I can. So I'm keeping his bishop out of the square with a6. He goes bishop to c2. I go bishop c6. Okay, getting the bishop on this diagonal, maybe trading off that knight. Knight to d4. Bishop to e5. Didn't particularly want to give up this bishop right here. I would much rather, cancel that. Would much rather, okay, I went the other bishop. Okay, cancel that. Bishop to e5 I played here. Just trying to force some trades. He went rook to e1. And now I finally took something. Bishop takes d4. At least I got one piece off. He takes back. And I saw that I would have to move my queen, but there's a safe square for it. So I keep my edge here through all of this. Knight to f3. And I'm one step closer. I could just take on f3, and the engine likes that once again. Yeah, I don't know why I keep missing this idea. Take here. This is a similar idea, and then I take here with the pawn. So taking the knight just wins a pawn here. Instead, I played knight to d5. He goes knight to e5. Hitting my queen, drop back to e8. Once again, opposite his rook, but he has no great discoveries here. He tries, well, knight to g6 would be an interesting try here. He tried bishop to b3. And I went rook d6. I was going to get my rook in front of the queen here. Rook to a2, so he can double his rooks. Rook to e6. So I got a battery along this file. Rook a to e2, and now I play the move f6, so kicking his knight and forcing some action. So he should probably just take the bishop here, and I would take his rook, and that's what I was expecting. Instead, he played c4, kicking my knight, complicating things. But I go knight to f4, hitting his rook again. Then he goes c5, so pinning my rook. But, well, I can grab one of his rooks with check, and he takes back. And f takes e5. Yeah, and then I can grab the knight. And he can grab my rook at any time, but he plays rook takes e5 first, grabbing that pawn. This guy is under attack and really can't be defended. Well, I could have defended it with the bishop, bishop d7. I just unpinned it with king to... Look at that. Okay, so I needed to defend the rook. I thought I was losing the rook anyway, but with bishop to d7, it becomes an exchange. So bishop takes, and I have a pinned piece here, but I've got a queen against a rook. Okay, that's the way to play it. So my real blunder in the game then was this move, king h8. Everything else keeps the advantage. Here he can take, and he does. And now it's still a rook. I was thinking I was still okay here because it's still just a rook and a bishop against the queen. And the queen is better. But I've given up a pawn, and his pieces are a lot more active. My queen has to move again. Queen d7. Rook takes h6, checkmate. Okay. Well, it's a good thing for me he was short on time. That's a cute mate. This bishop is pinning the pawn, this bishop is guarding the escape square, and the rook is delivering mate on that rank. Rook takes h6 mate. What a shocker. Okay, I completely missed that. So what did I need to play here? I need to play queen h5. Get my queen out and defend the h-pawn against this threat. Okay, so we both missed that threat. He played bishop to e5 instead. And now I'm doing better. Queen to d3. Once again, rook takes h6. It's not mate, but it's winning. He plays bishop to a2. And I went queen here, bishop to b2, queen to g5, rook there, and finally I have the mate. And this one I saw because I had set that one up. So that's pretty interesting. So this combination of rook and two bishops can be very deadly. So let's keep that in mind. The bishop covering this diagonal, the bishop covering this diagonal, this pawn can just be taken by the rook and deliver a checkmate. Pretty interesting tactic. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.